All right, welcome. I'm Jasmine Hathaway. I'm founder of Compass Coordinators, which exists to make the business side of life's challenges go smoothly. So I created my company after getting a crash course in how much paperwork, logistics, and bureaucracy was involved after my husband Alan died in 2015. These days, not only am I guiding clients through that work after a loved one passes away, but many times I get asked what people can do now to prevent their family from basically needing my services, prevent a lot of these headaches and a lot of these kind of nightmares that people have to go through just because they don't know. So I am so pleased to have the chance to interview Amanda Reed, owner and managing attorney at the law office of Amanda M. Reed. So Amanda is here to talk about estate planning, which is a crucial piece of getting your affairs in order before you pass away. So Amanda, why don't you tell us a little bit about your firm and what you all do?
Of course. Thank you, Jasmine. I'm really excited to be here. So my name's Amanda Reed. I'm an attorney. I'm licensed in North Carolina. My office is located in Concord, which is just north of Charlotte. We practice primarily in estate planning and estate administration. So we are drafting and executing estate planning documents pretty much on a daily basis. And we also aid in the administration of estates after someone has passed away. So we very much live in that kind of estates realm. We live in this world day in and day out.
Perfect. Yes, I am so glad that you're here. So before we get started, we just have to preface the conversation with a disclaimer. None of what we'll be sharing is legal advice. It is just legal information, and it's geared towards North Carolina residents. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm going to jump right in. So before my husband passed away, I had never heard of estate planning. So just like fresh, no idea, never heard the term. So that's kind of who I want to talk to for a minute. So everyone who hears the word estate and thinks something along the lines of like a French chateau. So does everyone have an estate?
Yeah, so everybody does have an estate. So the term estate, I feel like, is a little bit misleading in that people do tend to think that you have to have a ton of money in this, rolling hills and large houses and things. But estate is actually everything you own, and it's everything that you owe. So really an estate is made up of all of your stuff. So like your car, your clothes, your furniture, any real property that you own, any of your cash in your bank accounts, things like that. All that stuff is stuff that you own, but your estate is also stuff that you owe. So if you have a lien on your car, if you have outstanding credit card bills, medical debt, all of that stuff is also part of your estate. So when you kind of think about all of the stuff that you own and all of the stuff that you owe, it's much easier to understand how everybody has an estate. Because it's obviously be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't own something and someone who doesn't owe something, right? So kind of looking at the bigger picture of what makes up an estate makes it a little bit easier to understand that everybody has an estate and that we've all got to do some planning for that.
I love that definition. Yes. Okay, so we're going to keep it rolling in kind of the definition space. What is estate planning?
So estate planning is kind of the process where you're making decisions about what happens to all of that stuff, all the stuff that you own and all the stuff that you owe, even before you die, but also after you die. So, there's kind of a misconception that estate planning is what happens to your stuff after you've died. So everybody, you think of a will. When you hear estate planning, people immediately kind of think of a will. Yep. What happens to my stuff after I've died? But really, when we're talking to our clients about a really good estate plan, we're talking about how we can manage those assets even while those people are still alive. So we talk about healthcare power of attorneys, financial power of attorneys, advance directives. So what you want to happen, in the event that you need to be put on life support, and then also a will. So, estate planning is kind of a culmination of all of those documents together. It's not just a will that kind of plans for what happens after you've died, but also doing some planning and taking care of some of those pieces in the event that you're still living, but can't actually make decisions on your own.
Okay. And do you recommend all of those documents for everybody, or is it sort of a case-by-case basis?
It's certainly a case-by-case basis. There are some instances where, we're going to be recommending something in addition to those documents, or maybe based on the particular circumstances, we just need to have one of those documents updated or drafted. But generally speaking, if we're talking to a client about estate planning, like we start with those 4 core documents. Like those are the 4 core estate planning documents, and everybody needs those 4 documents. If you're going to do, effective planning, you really need to make sure you kind of check off all of those options.
Okay. All right. And so what are some things that people may not think of being a part of their estate? So that maybe aren't clearly defined by what you own and what you owe. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's kind of, when we start to break it down even more, there's 3 really specific kind of sections within your estate. So there's your personal property, which is all of your stuff. So that's like if you're in your house, kind of like touch your furniture, your clothes, your jewelry, your Tupperware, the crap that's been piling up in the garage that you've been meaning to take to Goodwill, like that's all of your personal property. Then there's your real property, which is like your primary residence. If you have a beach house, if you have, you bought the vacant lot next door when you were building your house, you inherited some land from grandma, like that's all part of your real property in your estate. And then there's another portion called your residuary estate, which is often what people don't think about. So the residuary is everything that doesn't cleanly fit into personal property or real property. So that's things like your bank account. So your checking account, your savings account, they fall into that residuary estate. If you have like a pet cat, your cat may become part of your residuary estate. If you have a life insurance policy or retirement account that does not have a beneficiary listed on it, that stuff is going to fall into your residuary. Some things that have come up like fairly recently, Coinbase, Bitcoin, things like that, virtual currency is part of your residuary estate. Things that people don't necessarily think about are like your digital library, like who gets all of the songs in your iPad or iPods, who kind of has control of things that are in your email. There's a lot more virtual stuff kind of going on these days. And that's certainly something people don't think about, but that stuff tends to fall in that residuary.
Yes, I talk to people all the time about their digital estate. That's kind of what I call it, because so much of our lives happen online. And we have just a ton of information, a ton of accounts, also websites, all kinds of different things that people might not think about their family needing to handle if they were to pass away.
Another big thing that we see a lot of is businesses. If you own your own business, if you have an LLC, if you're a sole proprietor, a lot of times without additional business documents having been created by the owner, like those things also become part of your estate. People don't tend to think about that. But again, something that's controlled by your estate.
Huge. Yes. I mean, and you are like preaching to the choir. That's me. I have, this asset that honestly is not really considered in my current estate planning documents. So that is definitely a big hole there. I'm so glad that you mentioned that one. Okay. So now I kind of want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the process after someone has died. So you guys get involved there as well. So in the probate and estate administration process. So can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So probate in and of itself is actually the process where the clerk of court in the county where you are domiciled is going to look at your will and verify that your will is valid according to North Carolina statutes. So it has to be signed, it has to be witnessed, has to be notarized. That's probate in and of itself. It's just making sure that will is valid under the laws. The estate administration piece is where we kind of pull all of those assets that are titled in your individual name through the court process so that we can inventory them and pay any fees on them, unfortunately, and then make sure that they get distributed out to the new beneficiaries or the heirs under your estate. That process is, North Carolina is not a terrible state to deal with the probate administration process. There are some states that are significantly worse. North Carolina is fairly easy to navigate, but it can still be a lengthy process. It can still be an expensive process. And there are a lot of things that just kind of throw people for a loop generally in that estate administration process. So we do, we try to work with our clients and encourage them to be proactive to avoid, as much of their assets from going through an estate as possible.
Yeah. So really, you want people to avoid probate. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, we do. Yes. I think most people generally want to avoid probate. They may not really know why they want to avoid probate. It's just kind of ingrained in us that, avoiding probate is the thing to do. Like, we want to avoid probate. And there are certainly ways to do that. And, a lot of people are going to say, oh, I need a trust to avoid probate. There are other ways to get around probate. Aside just having a trust, having some of those more expensive, more intricate estate planning documents. But we definitely, if we can avoid probate, we surely want to. It is, like I said, it can be expensive. It can be time consuming. So yeah, definitely avoiding it possible.
Right. And a lot of people that I talk to who, like me, think that estate planning refers to rich people, who have this French chateau or whatever. They think that, they're legally married to their spouse. And so when they die, everything's just going to pass through to their spouse. Yeah.
That is so untrue.
Yeah. Right. So important to work with an attorney and get it set up so it passes the way that you want it to pass with minimal headaches and fees involved.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. So tell me something that you wish more people thought about or did before they die.
I really wish that more people would speak to an attorney about estate planning. I know maybe that's a little cliche,
pretty obvious. Yeah.
Right? Pretty obvious given our conversation today, but it's so easy to go down a dark hole in Google, go down that rabbit hole in what I should do or what I shouldn't do or what I need or what I don't need. And there's people out there who write books that are just kind of general. I'm not going to name any names, but there's books out there that are general about estate planning and what you need and what you don't need. And they're not, it's not always the best state specific advice, right? So like I had mentioned before, we've been ingrained to think that we should be avoiding probate, and talking to an attorney is going to help you understand how you can do that in a cost-effective manner. It's going to save you headaches. It's going to save your family headaches. There's so many tips and tricks that we as estate planning attorneys have learned along the way that we can provide you that information, that guidance, that, hey, let's do these couple things, be proactive. We'll get you the estate planning documents that you need, but let's be proactive and get some other things taken care of. Let's check your beneficiary designations. I can't tell you how many times I have spoken with a spouse after someone has passed away and there's no beneficiary on life insurance policies, and we're having to go through probate over a $5,000 life insurance policy. Let's make sure that we get the title to your car changed, because people think that, well, my husband's name and my name are on the title together. When he dies, it's my car. And that's not how it works. With or without a will, that's not how it works. So just kind of talking to and taking, an hour out of your life, which I'm a parent, I get it, we're all busy, but taking an hour out of your life to just kind of sit down with an estate planning attorney and talk about these things. And just be proactive. Like, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be proactive when it comes to estate planning. Even if you don't take the full step and get all of your estate planning documents drafted, which of course I highly recommend. There's plenty of other things that we can share with you to make sure that, we can account for a lot of your assets and things, avoiding that probate process. So definitely wish more people would talk to an attorney about it.
Okay, so let's say you've sold everybody, right? They are on board. They're going to look for an estate planning attorney. What should they be looking for?
So definitely somebody that's personable. I mean, talking about death and dying is like buying life insurance. Nobody really wants to do it, but it's important. So being able to find an attorney that you feel comfortable with, somebody that you can open up to, that you can talk to. A good estate planning attorney is going to ask you some probing questions. We're going to make sure that you don't have any other children out there and there aren't any family dynamics that may impact your planning. And, we're going to ask some questions that may otherwise make you feel uncomfortable. And, we're going to kind of, we're going to force some of this information out of you that maybe you haven't really thought about or talked about before. So it's important to find somebody that's personable, somebody that you're comfortable talking to, somebody that is compassionate. And it's unfortunately it's a sad kind of topic, so it's a little bit overwhelming can, you know, speak from experience. I've had lots of clients come in here and then shed a few tears talking about spouses passing away, or you know, what happens if they've died and their kids are still alive and things like that. So making sure that it's someone that you're truly comfortable speaking with, somebody that's compassionate, and an attorney that's willing to kind of work with you to customize your documents. I mean, it's easy enough to just go on Google and find something that will work, but you know, to really have an effective estate plan, you got to find somebody who's willing to work with you. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. I can tell how passionate you are about this subject, and I appreciate that so much. So final question for you is just, what is your favorite thing about your job?
You know, I really love my job. I have always said, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I do, I truly believe that. I come to work every day and I love being here, and I love talking to my clients and meeting my clients. I think there's an aspect to estate planning and being an estate planning and estate administration attorney that really speaks to my love for teaching. I feel like I maybe missed a little bit of a calling by not being a teacher. Because, you know, there's so much information out there about estate planning and wills and trusts and power of attorneys and all these documents, that it can just be overwhelming to just the average person. And it's really important. It's definitely a pillar of our practice, both myself and my associate attorney here. When we're speaking to our clients, we do it in layman's terms. We want you guys to understand what we're talking about. We want you guys to understand the documents that you're signing. We want you to be able to call up your brother who you've named as the executor and explain to him what the heck you just did. You know, we want you to be able to feel comfortable in having these conversations with the folks that you're naming in your documents. And I love the opportunity to teach my clients and teach other people about the importance of estate planning, because as a mother myself, like I can relate, you know, I can relate to the need, I can relate to the emotions, and the importance of these documents. And I love having the opportunity to teach that to my clients, teach it to anybody. Y'all don't have to be my clients, and I will teach you about it.
Awesome. I am so appreciative of you. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So before I let you go, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Absolutely. So you can check us out on our website. It's www.reedestateplanning.com, and that's Reed, R-E-E-D, 2 E's in Reed. Once you get to our website, you can go to our contact us page. There's a form submission. Put some information in there for us, and that'll send you directly to our office. We'll reach out to you within 24 to 48 hours via phone call and email. You can definitely call our office. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. All that information is on the website, but definitely reach out. We'd love to help you guys out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.